What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today, we talk about why startups feel harder than ever, even though the tech is better. Look, let me explain the paradox here. We have the best tools that ever existed to create any kind of tech startup. It's become much more cheaper, and capital is widely available. If you're in the US and in Europe, even, it's much more available than it was 20 years ago. But something doesn't add up here. AI didn't make startups easier. It removed excuses. Fuck yeah, man. Everyone knows that friend. Oh man, if I had to code, if I knew how to code, I would have done, you know what? It's just easy. Nah, I could have done it. I have the best idea. I could be a millionaire already. Sure, buddy. Sure. This
Man,
is the thing. Thank God for AI because now these people don't have an excuse anymore. You'd be like, you know what? Just spend 20 bucks, 50 bucks. Use the AI tool and let's see how your startup is going to go. But this also now enable the great part about AI startups or AI in general is that everybody can build something. But this also brings down the opposite. If everybody can build something, that means there's more competition. And if there's more competition, it makes it harder overall. Well, yeah, also makes it much more important to have the right distribution. And like you said, right, if everyone is fast, nobody is. In terms of and talking about safe in the regard of, hey, you're not overextending anymore. You're not like in terms of capital expenditure as well as you're not going to be innovative. I want to break this up into two parts. And the one part is like of you being saved or being fired. So first of all, if you are performing in your team, it will in small teams anyways. There is no. But we talk for a company, not like being an employee in a small team. I want to split it, right?
right.
You have on the one side, you have the employee point of view. You can say, hey, if you're an employee in a small startup, if you can carry your weight, that's perfect because especially with AI. And the other side, for startup point of view, I believe because nowadays most of the AI tools you directly charge because you always have inferences cost. So inferences cost basically every time you have a request. So for example, you need ChatGPT to do your background task. That's also where there's something called wrappers and workflows. That's something we should talk about as well because that's like because we've seen more and more. We'll explain it later. We'll just explain now what the inference costs. Okay, so basically, inference cost is, as I mentioned, every time you have a request to ChatGPT that it should summarize something or has to. It's just a request. Yeah, every
It's a
time there's
cost.
everything that times is a request that the AI has to do it. It's a cost, and that's a huge difference to traditional SaaS companies or SaaS products because then back in the day you produce once a code, and then you only have maybe server costs, and that's it. All right. So inference cost is one thing. You said there was another point, right? You had a small team as being an employee and then a small team as a startup. My point of view on this is that smaller teams are now as efficient as 100-person teams. 100%. And they're going to be much better at it usually because you have less cost, etc. So the efficiency sometimes, okay, you have to consider here two things. Over manufacturing for efficiency and then also output. So you need to find a middle ground where you have as much as efficiency as possible, but also the most amount of output.
Yeah.
Because you need to now, it's much more important that you have revenue coming in and actually profitable, that you're a profitable business. Because if you're not, man, with all the inference costs that you have per request, they don't scale. Like they have literal, like the cost is one more request is still going to be one more the same cost. So that's obviously something that at scale these startups need to consider. AI didn't replace jobs, it just replaced time. Agree 100% because in the end, well, yes and no, because at the same time, yes, it replaces some people's jobs, but basically these people were anyways replaceable. In the end, it's like middle management or people that didn't really bring value in the value chain. So for me, the optimal startup is that every role in the company or in the startup creates or gives value in the value chain so that everybody, so otherwise, because otherwise it's reductant or we don't need that person. And AI makes it more visible because those people who bring value will bring so much more value. So it's just like an amplifier, right? Those who work, they work more efficient and you can see the results. And those who never really worked from begin with, they will not, because multiplying something very small by a 10x is still very small, but something big is much, much bigger. Well, I also want to take it on a company level. Look, the advantages before were measured in years or months, maybe or weeks, and now it's possibly just days because you can copy directly like a different you can directly copy a web app in a couple of days if you just use AI, etc. But it comes to the other modes or other network effects are going to be more and more important. And these are the things that will defend your business or the relationship that you have with the customer. But it's not necessarily the product that you have.
Now, this brings me to what is actually nowadays so important. I mean, we talk literally about it every episode. So I'm like, it is all about distribution, right? So why does a distribution feel so unfair? Because the market doesn't reward effort; it just rewards visibility. So that's why we're seeing startups like Cluely, etc., which are creating a lot of like it's like not a shitstorm, but they're creating a
It's
lot of
fucking, I love that.
man.
It's like Cluely, for those people who don't know, they have some content. It's like kind of like the office style a little bit, where they have a little bit side quests about the people that work there and talking at the end of the day, they don't even talk about their product that much. But Cluely is basically you can cheat on anything kind of software focused on
Yeah,
universities. They raised a shit ton of money, but they have billions and billions of views. It's really, really good content. That just reminds me also, there was I think in the US or in Canada, I think it's a truck um, or a car sales, like a distributor, and they basically had the office style as well. But they had these main characters, and they would say like, "Hey, we're selling trucks today," and they would follow them around. And just by using that as had like a story arc every single video, they would have millions of views and then also much more customers. And that was just this cute, like kind of funny, cute videos, like short when you have like, "Hey Bob, how's it going?" Or look what's in your coffee. Like it's really cringe videos. And then like you see someone else like this put something in the coffee and like different perspective. Exactly the kind of humor you would see in the office.
but that's why you connect with people, right? Because in the end, you connect with creators, and that makes you trust the brand because the brand is represented by the people in the end.
Well, I would get even further because I think the product isn't special anymore and it's just more of a commodity. And since it's a commodity, you don't even care about the product anymore. You care about where it's from, what's the story behind it, who do you associate with, who do you connect with as a person, right? Like product market fit is just like nothing. It dies without distribution.
100%. At the same time, I believe as a founder, you see it as a commodity, but most people are not founders and they don't produce anything. So for them, they don't see that you can create something in a day or two. It's all about the value that you're proposing. Because in the end, it's like for them, it doesn't matter. Like it takes you 10 years. It's like you going to a beauty salon.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether she uses the cheapest machine or the best machine, where they cost 10,000 or 100,000 the machine. You only care about the results or the value that you're proposing, and that's why I think like it's not a commodity for the user, but more for the founder itself, because the client only cares about the results.
That's why it's a commodity. It's interchangeable. That's why it is. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's product. It doesn't matter if
Okay.
it's Lily doing the service or if it's Luana.
No, for me, it still makes a difference. At the end, it is a commodity how fast you can build it, but in the end, as a user, you're still loyal to that brand. So, for example,
I would argue different. I disagree to disagree. I would just end with it. The best product is just a product demo without distribution.
oh, 100, I'm 100% agreeing with this. Like, if you don't have distribution, like the best product is not winning anymore. It's all about distribution. But that's been for a long, like, especially with AI, this because there's so many products that are basically copies of each other, but distribution wins. But once you have the distribution, the customer stays with you because you start building loyalty around it, etc. And that's when you can, like, if you have workflows, that's when I want to talk about workflows again. So basically, workflows. So wrappers is basically if you have a chat interface and you offering just a talking with ChatGPT and you're charging more for it, that is just a wrapper or like a very basic create an image. That's a wrapper. A workflow is basically if you replace real work, meaning, for example, you want to create, let's say, you want to have more clients, for example, in the beauty niche or in you're an no, you're an ads manager and you want to have your clients require you to create ad sets and then run the ads. If if it's a workflow, it basically means the client will tell you what to do, what they want. You just put it in AI, it creates the ad creatives, the ad text, like primary text, headline, etc., variations, then puts it also in the ads manager and starts running ads for different purposes. So maybe engagement strategy or maybe directly for client acquisition. So this would be their entire workflow because it removes multiple jobs with an entire workflow.
So basically, a workflow is goal oriented. The end goal that the user wants, for example, getting new customers, he doesn't care. They just says, "Hey, do this. I want this outcome.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal every single step. You have multiple steps aligned that you do in the background, and this is the goal that I want to achieve."
Yes. So there you can actually use the litmus test. So litmus test is, I think I pronounced it correctly. The litmus test basically, if OpenAI would disappear, would you still be able to provide the service? For most for most service nowadays, of course, this wouldn't work. But for example, with the
Huh, you can use Claude.
yes, but if it would, for example, it would be in this case with the sticking with the AI ad creative, you had to do it manually. So it's basically you have that manual work that you have to do, and then putting it all together. You can replace it with manual work, but it's a flow. That makes
I
sense.
makes kind of sense. I guess there are a little bit that could be buffered out, but I get the point. Look, I mean, we talked already in an episode before. Layoffs aren't panic; they're just delayed math. End of the day, now profitable companies are laying off. You saw it in Meta, you saw it in Twitter. Well, Twitter, I don't know how profitable that one was, but like big companies or tech companies are laying off because they're noticing now that they don't need these bigger teams. Like the math isn't mathing, as people would say, and it's just more and more efficient with AI tools because you don't need a middle manager anymore. You just need people that execute. You have the vision that you work towards, and you have these smaller teams.
100% agree.
All right. Do you agree or disagree from a 1 to 10? Founders aren't weaker than before.
Mm, I would give it a 8. It's different, right? Because nowadays, first of all, you can build so fast with AI, but because you can build fast, more competition means also more stress. So at the same time, that's one thing. Also, you're seeing more startups that explode like super fast. So, for example, you see like Lovable, Hicksfield that become $1 billion company within a year or two, which before was very, you never saw it basically before. That's like one of the things. So you can see that there are more, I guess, outliers. So at the one point, that makes it like a when you gamble, you see the jackpot is much, much bigger. You can achieve it much faster, but at the same time, it's more stressful. So it's like the reward can be much bigger in shorter period of time. So it's an accelerated process, but due to the higher competition also means it's more stressful. So I believe it is adjusted, let's put it this way, adjusted to the reward, the risk is also
So basically, the
higher.
game sped up, but the biology didn't. So then now the users, well, the game in general, the startup game has changed over the last 20 years. Heck, the last 8 years since we started has changed a lot in terms of speed, like going to market, how many ideas you have to pivot from, how many, all of a sudden, how many competition pops up. I mean, we started like 2 years ago when we had like an AI girlfriend website that we just wanted to create something really quick, profitable, and all of a sudden, boom, hundreds of competitors. It's just so much faster, which actually is interesting that the game has changed so fast in just such a short period of time. And also about founders like to flex, which brings me also to my next point, I would say. The new founder flex isn't funding.
What is it? Revenue?
Nah, it's actually calm, being calm. And the new status is just, hey, how do you feel about yourself while you're doing the journey? Do you think so? In our personal level, personal experience as well, how do you feel about this? Like how it went from eight
I mean,
years
it's not a.
ago.
I don't think it's a flex. I just like. I think it's really important in general because in the end, you don't know how the startup journey is like a marathon. You're running a marathon, but at Kenya speed. Not
Canyon
probably.
speed. Ooh,
Yeah.
these guys run fast, man.
And I love the videos when they compare like literally a runner, like they put it on a treadmill. So basically the speed, and people have to survive as long as possible on the speed. How these people
So
run on. And like literally after half a minute, they're just like falling off.
I've seen other videos. So they were talking to Kipchoge and other Kenyans. Kipchoge is the most famous marathon runner. And I think the first human to run a sub 2 hour marathon. And he was like, when I talk to the Kenyans, they talk about running at like talking speed, so you can still have a great conversation while running. And there was like a sub 4 minute kilometer, which people usually are pretty dead, or I think like 3:20 or something. It was crazy. And this is for them, just like, hey, we can still talk about this while on a run. Man, I can barely fucking hold a conversation. I'm on a fast pace walking. Like, because I'm a gym bro. I don't know if I can do cardio. But this is crazy. And that's the whole thing with the startup as well, right? Nowadays, everyone is running at Kenyan speed or even sprinting. The question is, how long can you last and have a conversation and emotional stability?
I mean, we see it all around us, right? People are burning out, or at least um, they're getting very exhausted. I mean, first of all, of course, if you don't have momentum kills like probably the creator of most burnout, because you feel like it doesn't matter how hard you hit your head against the wall, it feels like you're not moving forward. Or it's like with a pickaxe, right? You're just like digging the hole and hole, like you don't know when the diamonds will appear. But that's why you shouldn't like just keep picking all the time, but also take your
Y-
strategic breaks.
You know what I was thinking? It is interesting or kind of ironic because with AI, the momentum at the beginning is much faster. So people get used to the momentum being fast. But then they're going to hit the wall when the product goes to market. And this is where people then have the classic, ah, fuck, maybe I have to pivot or do something new. And they start the new one. And the cycle starts from getting again, again, and again. So that's why I'm thinking, do you think that the founders nowadays that just started with AI and have this didn't learn how to struggle beforehand? And that's why it is? Or do you think in general, what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me, struggling is part of the game in general. But if you haven't thought about distribution before going to market, makes it so much harder because like the competition is there and they have figured it out. So if you don't have either like I guess distribution co-founder, it makes it so much harder because you have a product and you think it's amazing, but if you can't find the right people, even though Facebook algorithm is super great at it, you still have to find people that are willing to pay, and which offsets your costs.
So startups just feel harder because the advantages last shorter or the advantages expire faster.
To be honest, I don't think it feels harder over the last 8 years because if you're a generalist and it enables you, and then you rely less on other people, so it makes, I think it's a great enabler. It just means maybe once you go onto market might be harder, but at the same time, man, so many people are giving up earlier. So maybe at the beginning, more people build products, but then once you're getting to the distribution part, they give up earlier. So I don't think it's harder. I don't feel it's harder.
So maybe it enables people that are more marketing affinite, like who knows more about marketing, because now they can build also the product and they're already great at marketing. So it will just empower a different type of founder.
Well, we're gonna find out.
All right, I think that's it for today. Let us know if you'd like this type of podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.